Mr. President, this policy has failed in its intended goals. It's done a tremendous disservice to the men and women who want nothing more than to defend our country, and it's time for this policy to go. I want to begin this afternoon by talking about a true hero from my home state of Washington named Margaret Witt. She joined the Air Force in 1987 and served honorably for 18 years as a flight nurse, rising to the rank of major. She was described in reviews and by her peers as being an exemplary officer, an effective leader, and a skilled and caring nurse. But in 2004, her superiors discovered that she was a lesbian, and acting under the Don't Ask, Don't Tell policy, they suspended and ultimately discharged her. Margaret lost the job she had given her life to, and our country lost a talented and committed flight nurse. She didn't give up. She went to court. She called witnesses. She made her case. And in September of this year, U.S. District Judge Ronald Layton ruled that she must be reinstated. Judge Layton said the government gave no compelling reason for dismissing Major Witt, and that the application of Don't Ask, Don't Tell was not shown to further the government's interest in promoting military readiness. That was the right decision, and it was amazing news for Major Witt. She is now working with disabled veterans in Spokane, Washington, but she says she is really excited to get back in the air and back to helping the troops that need her. Mr. President, Major Witt is a true hero. Her commitment to our country should be recognized and honored, but she should never have been put in this position. She has the skills, the experience, the commitment to do her job, and the fact that she is a lesbian doesn't change that one bit. Mr. President, there are so many reasons to repeal Don't Ask, Don't Tell, and to do it now. This policy destroys lives. We've all heard stories like Margaret's. There are thousands like it. And for everyone we hear, there are so many more who suffer silently, whose lives and livelihoods were devastated, not because of something they did, but because of who they are. Men and women who were kicked out of the military and who are forced to lie to everyone they work with, who go to sleep petrified they'll be found out and discharged, and who wake up dreading another day of mandated deceit and dishonesty. It's wrong. It needs to end. Mr. President, Don't Ask, Don't Tell is depriving our armed services of talented men and women at a time when we need our best on the front lines defending America. We're fighting wars in Iraq and Afghanistan, and we cannot afford to lose critical assets simply because they're gay. And finally, Mr. President, we also now know that repealing Don't Ask, Don't Tell won't have an adverse impact on the military. We've heard from military leaders who support this repeal. And the Pentagon recently came out with their report that showed that repealing this policy would not inhibit their ability to carry out the missions that they're charged with. In fact, that report that said that 70% of service members believe that repeal would have little to no effect on their unit. Mr. President, repealing Don't Ask, Don't Tell is the right thing to do. It's the right thing for our country. It is the right thing for our military. It is the right thing for Major Witt and thousands like her. And it's the right thing for people like Rebecca. She's a young woman from Spokane in my home state. She wrote me a letter a couple months ago and told me that she's a senior at Eastern Washington University, and her dream for years has been to join the U.S. Army. She wrote to me, and I quote, "I believe the military is an honorable calling, one of self-sacrifice and dedication, and I would be proud to call myself a soldier." But there was a problem. Rebecca told me that the very sense of honor that called her to serve her country was preventing her from acting on her dream because, she told me, she's a lesbian. And she's very proud of who she is. And as long as the official policy of the United States Army is to ask her to bury that pride and tell her to keep secret a large part of who she is and to ask her to live what would essentially be a lie, she simply won't be able to serve our country. Rebecca told me that nothing would make her happier than to be able to graduate this coming spring and start her journey standing up for our nation. She doesn't want to feel that she should be ashamed of who she is, and she shouldn't have to. We need to repeal Don't Ask, Don't Tell so that young women like Rebecca won't stop dreaming of growing up to serve our country, and so that every man and woman in our armed forces can serve their country openly and with pride. Mr. President, we've heard the stories of the lives this policy has ruined. We've heard from top-ranking military officials that it simply doesn't work. We have heard from service members that they too want it to change. And today, this afternoon, with an historic vote, this country will move a step forward in being proud of every man and woman who serves their country. For far too long, men and women with courage and commitment to serve our nation have been asked to hide the truth about who they are. It's shameful. It's a bad policy. Today, it will end. I look forward to the vote this afternoon, Mr. President, and the courage of this Senate to stand up and do the right thing today.